Okay, so I'm gonna be honest, for some time now I was kinda getting bored with a lot of games, apart from certain major releases on my radar. See, you guys know I'm a huge fan of Souls and Souls-like games to the point where this channel is basically centered around the whole genre. I swear, being a fan of these games have been a slight blessing and a curse. And you might be wondering why, but just hear me out. By a curse, I just mean that every other genre just doesn't hit the same for me, and this has been going on for years actually, where I would just not want to play a game unless it was a Souls-like. This mentality made me feel like a stubborn child that refuses to eat anything other than chicken nuggets, and dismisses everything else. Because of this, I only have a few games that I look forward to every year. Shit, last year it was only two. Black Myth Wukong and Shadow of the Erdtree. Now in 2025 there's definitely more games on my radar, and guess what? Most of them happens to be Souls-likes. And don't get it twisted, the Souls-like subgenre is still my favorite and I think it'll always be like that. But I kinda blame myself for not wanting to try anything new, which always led me to getting bored during a Souls-like drought season. But one game finally took me out of this drought. And the funny thing is, this game is something that I thought I would never care about, and it's also not a Souls-like. The game I'm talking about is Expedition 33.
Expedition 33.
If you told me a couple years ago that one of the best gaming experiences I would have would come from a turn-based RPG made by a small team of ex-Ubisoft devs, I would have called straight up bullshit. But here we are. Clear Obscure Expedition 33 somehow did the impossible. It not only came out of nowhere with insane quality, but it also made people like me, who usually can't stand turn-based combat, actually love it. You know how hard it is to get stubborn gamers to try something new? It's damn near impossible. Seriously, I never expected to enjoy this game as much as I did. It went from, damn, this looks kinda cool I guess, to this is definitely one of my favorite game this year. And that's saying a lot considering how stacked this year already is. Expedition 33 isn't just a good game, it flipped expectations and might have just redefined what a turn-based RPG could look like in the modern era. And it actually made me more open to them now. And I'm glad this is happening because games in the modern era tend to have a lot of faults, whether it's over monetization, some dull-ass copy-pasted open world, unfinished games being released, you know, all that stuff. And while those issues thankfully are starting to fade away one by one, piece by piece as the years go by, they still plague a lot of games to this date. So having a game without any of that crap, a game that just wants to tell a great story and deliver a truly fun experience, is refreshing as hell. And that's why I had to talk about it. If you haven't played Expedition 33 yet, I 100% recommend giving it a shot. But if you still aren't sure whether it's worth your time or not, don't worry, I'm about to break it down. I'm about to break down exactly what makes this game so special, without major spoilers, and why it might just be the most surprising release of this year. What I wanted to talk about first is the gameplay, specifically the combat. But before I do that, I just wanted to go over the premise so you have an idea what the game is about. You see, Expedition 33 takes place in a dark fantasy Bellapoke setting. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Every year for the past 67 years, the people of the isolated island of Lumiere have suffered an event called the Gamage, where an entity known as the Paintress paints over an ever-decreasing number, and all humans with an age above that number disappear. Every year after the Gamage, Lumiere sends an expedition of volunteers to head to the mainland in an effort to slay the Paintress before she can paint a new number. Expedition 33 is the latest to set out, hence why the game is called that. This is already such an interesting premise, and finding out the secrets of the painter and the world itself was just intriguing. So we're not going to talk about the story, at least not yet. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the combat, as that's the thing that might keep people away from playing it, even though it's really good. Never in a million years would I have thought that I, the person that always complains about slow methodical combat, would enjoy a turn-based game like this. No, seriously, I thought I would hate it. Even when I decided to play the game for the first time, I remember thinking to myself that sure, the story might be great, but the combat and overall gameplay might be a bit lackluster. And again, I was so wrong. Expedition 33 did what few games are able to do, and that's converting mindset. And by this, I mean the game is able to reel in a bunch of people who aren't even fans of turn-based combat and made them enjoy the experience. That is a flex in my opinion. Now there are some reasons to why this game's combat stand out a lot, and okay, this is gonna sound weird. Even though the game is turn-based, it's also kinda not. You see, you're able to deflect and dodge upcoming attacks, and honestly, it's one of the few reasons why I stuck with the combat system, because my character isn't just standing there taking hits like a dumbass. But the devs knew this would make the game a bit too easy, so they made sure to make the dodge and parry windows for these attacks tiny. What makes this even worse is that some of the enemy's attack animations will throw you off easily. Oh, you see this dude throwing a punch with his right arm? Well, screw you, he's actually gonna pull out a shotgun and blast you. Okay, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but you know what I mean if you played the game. Now, attack patterns aside, let's talk about how the combat functions. You see, you have a variety of attack options. You have your projectiles, which every character from my knowledge have these. These don't do a lot of damage on their own, but they're mostly used for targeting specific weak points on certain enemies, which will do a lot of damage, and it's also kinda good for getting rid of shields. This usually consumes one attack point per shot, and by the way, these attack points are used anytime you attack. The more of these you have, the more powerful skills you can use. Next, you have the basic attack button. This will do 1 or 2 strikes depending on your specific equipment. This doesn't always do a lot of damage, but a successful hit will basically give you an extra attack point. Then you have your skills, which are basically the bread and butter of the combat system. Each character has a lot of skills they can unlock, and in order to unlock them, you need skill points. I mean, duh. And the more powerful skills usually require a lot of points. But yeah, these skills are what's going to make the combat so much easier. Some of them can do crazy amounts of damage. Then later on in the game, you're gonna get gradient attacks, which are special attacks that basically do a hefty amount of damage while still being on the same turn. You also have additional items like revive and healing kits, which can definitely help out a lot. Now each character gets 1 turn per attack, except if you use a gradient. However, the enemies on the other hand, man, I swear these dudes have a lot of turns. I swear in the mid to late game, some enemies will attack you 2 to 3 times per person during their turn. So you have to get used to their parrying and dodge timing. And speaking of parrying, most times after successfully parrying all of an enemy's attack or combo, your character will perform a counter which will, it looks really cool and does a lot of damage. So yeah, the combat system is really great, and if that's the thing that turns you off, trust me, it's way more fun if you play it for yourself. Now that aside, the other thing that really stood out to me about Expedition 33 is the superb art style and graphics. Like, I don't know how to explain it, it's just a beautiful looking game. This is one of the most beautiful and unique art styles of any game in recent memory. The world is full of detail, with every scene looking like one of those weird paintings come to life. The game takes a lot of inspiration from old French art and architecture, especially from the Belle Epoque period. You can see this in some of the buildings, fancy clothes, and the overall look of the world, or at least how it used to look. But it's not just based on history. The game also mixes in strange and fantasy-like elements that makes it feel surreal and magical. There's a lot of different surreal areas, like the one where you're in an underwater world. Again, it's just really beautiful. It's like something from a dream, and the way it's shown in the game makes it feel both peaceful and haunting at the same time. The enemies, levels, and even the menus have their own style. And speaking of enemies, again, their designs are awesome. I swear the art direction crew was just straight up cooking with these designs. The team used Unreal Engine 5 to help make the game look this good, and despite some people hating on Unreal Engine, it allowed the devs to add more details and lighting effects that really brings the world to life. What's great is that the art isn't just pretty to look at, it also tells a story. And speaking of story, I want to talk about that for a bit, but before I do, I just gotta talk about something else first. Now, let's talk about the exploration. As far as traversing goes, I think it's okay for the most part. Look, don't expect a sprawling open world or anything, but if I were to describe it, I would say while it's a bit more on the linear side, the game doesn't feel like a straight line, if you know what I mean. An example of this feeling is definitely the overworld map. This is what you use to go from island to island, and later on you'll get this big adorable fella, who you can use to swim across areas. The overworld is filled with enemies and secret areas and stuff like that, like challenges at the gestural beaches for example. I'm pretty sure there are more things to do, but that's the one that stood out to me for the most part, so far. And speaking of gestural beaches, look, I know why most of you completed them. I know what type of man you are. Anyways, from here on, you can set up camps, and this is where you can use to, upgrade weapons and speak to other characters. You can even romance some of them, which is something I didn't know was possible until like Act 2. Then after the camp, you can go to the next island of choice, and here you will be able to progress the main story. What I liked about each of the islands' mission is that while they're a bit linear, you're still given exploration options with multiple paths and branches. Again, the exploration is nothing too crazy, but still good for the most part. Now you know me, I always have to talk about the bosses in the game, and sure, they might be a bit difficult to explain here since the combat system isn't really freeform, but still, I think I can describe their essence based on their difficulty. If you told me that the bosses in the game would be super hard, I wouldn't have believed you one bit, but man, a couple of them throughout the story absolutely whooped my ass. However, despite their difficulty, they definitely aren't on Promised Consort level. Most of the difficulty usually comes from their absurd, attack patterns. I've talked about this a bit earlier, but these guys don't mess around. Most of their attacks can be dodged or parried, but it's difficult to pull them off most of the time. You have to pay close attention and look for visual or audio cues to help you. I swear, pulling off a successful parry was even more satisfying than Sekiro at times. Now another thing that can make the bosses really difficult is the amount of turns they have. I swear some of these guys have 2 to 3 turns and they just keep going and going. You'll get used to it eventually, but man, this can feel a bit frustrating. Now in terms of design, it's excellent. They look so cool, and my personal favorite is the Duelist, or however the frick you pronounce that shit. But apart from design and difficulty, there's not really anything more I have to say about the bosses, since combat wise they all feel similar. Not saying that's bad or anything. The final thing, and dare I say the most standout thing about the game, is its narrative. Boy, I did not expect the game's story to hook me as much as it did. I don't want to get too deep into it as I generally want you guys to enjoy it for yourselves, but all I'm gonna say is that this game definitely has the best story and narrative of the year. At least to me. The characters are super intriguing, with each having their own unique personality. What I really like is that they actually talk and act like real people and not just boring ass NPCs. I forgot who said this, but someone basically said something interesting. It was another YouTuber. A lot of JRPGs, which is what this game is inspired by, these games tend to have the characters speaking like robots most of the time. And I'm not dissing JRPGs, I'm pretty sure there's some good ones. And bro, I literally love Tales of Arise, and yeah, again, the characters kind of speak like robots, if you know what I mean. But in this game, again, they just feel human, and it's something that I really love. But man, I wish I could go more in depth about the story, but again, I don't want to ruin the experience for any of y'all, so please just check it out for yourself. Trust me, it's amazing. So that was it for the game. Again, it's a really good game, and I highly suggest you guys to check it out. It's on Game Pass, so if you don't want to break the bank to get it, then you can just get it on, Game Pass. If you're on PlayStation, I mean, it's $50. It's not like it's 80 or anything. But I get it, money don't grow from trees. If you want to wait for a sale, that's all good. But again, if you have the chance, just check it out, bro. It's a really good game, and trust me, you're not gonna hate it. And yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I guess this is a face reveal video. I don't know, but yeah, whatever. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys have a good one.